This is Zellendorf's Sprint2 review. Our goal this sprint was to add PSP forms and references to memoranda to enhance the capabilities of supporting the PSP methodology. Our Git master this sprint was Larry Pruitt, and the Scrum master was Matthew Merrill. The business value that we created this sprint was to provide more functionality within memoranda to perform the PSP process. And the first user story we're going to go over is user story number 20, which states, as a user, I want to create tasks that span multiple days. That was completed by myself, Francisco Bencomo. You can see that being done here. You just open the new event menu, or new event dialog window, and you select multiple days, the multiple day checkbox, which brings up these two options for start and end date. Just select an end date and even an end time. And you can add comments if you like. And then it'll create a multi-day event for you spanning from the start date to the end date, and it'll show up for all the days that were part of that event. And then you can go into the agenda, and you'll see it here again on all the days that were part of that event. The next user story is user story number 52. It was completed by Clayton. It states, as a user, I would like to keep my events, the events that are stored in the .memoranda directory when updating to the latest software release. What was happening was when we were creating new versions, the old events either were causing errors or weren't being kept. And then the next user story is user story number 54, which is completed by Morgan and myself as well. This is user story 54. As a user, I want a separate tab to log PSP information. This is the tab here. It brings up this panel, which has our forms that get to be stored on this panel. User story 54 was only for the panel. And then user story number 6 was completed by Matthew. States, as a user, I want to track start and stop times in PSP phase to determine how much time you spend in each PSP phase and make better time estimates. Which is basically just a time tracking form. You can create new lines and you can delete lines. You fill in the information. There's a help box here that will tell you that the time is military time. So anything after 12 o'clock doesn't circulate back between 1 and 12. It's military time. And then it lists the phases for you, and it also lets you know that when you click on Delta after you've entered in your time, it'll update the amount of time that you spent during that entry. And then if you want to remove a line, you can just use the remove entry button. If you want to create a new form, you can do that, and you can see you can navigate between the two forms with these two buttons. Create a line here, and you'll see that there's no line on this form. And then this is the delete form or remove form, and it'll delete that form for you. Okay, and then user story number 5 was completed by Clayton and Larry. States, as a user, I want to record my lines of code for each iteration to help make better size estimates, which is basically the lines of code form from the PSP process. It operates much the same as the time tracking form does, by adding lines and then deleting lines, and also you can create new forms, delete forms, and then when you add a new line and you add in the lines of code for that line, there is a button here that will refresh your total to give you an updated total of the lines of code for this phase or that are on this form. And then user story number 4 was unfortunately we weren't able to complete it. It was for the defect tracking form. Justin was going to be completing that phase or that user story, which states, as a user, I want to track and categorize each defect to provide a historical baseline of defect data. That one is going to have to be removed, or going to have to be moved to the next sprint. And then user story 15 was also completed by Matthew. States, as a user, I want to quickly view the PSP scripts so that I do not have to search through Booker Online. The way that we made that feature available was through the help menu. We have both of these options here to view those forms. You can just click one and it'll pop up a form. This one just gives a quick breakdown of what the phases and forms and kind of a rundown of the PSP process. And then for our sprint backlog, we completed all of the tasks except for the user story number 4, but everything else was completed. And that's it for the Sprint2. Thank you.